Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand sports talk for America.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.
Is my sound not working? Or
It's Wednesday, folks, and it's the Professional Sports Show. Listen, I don't know what happens in my studio sometime. I don't know how it looked out there, but I had videos going left and right. And as Tip says, I need somebody to help me out, some kind of person just to push buttons for me while I'm on, because I'll tell you, I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. And I've been doing this for almost 5 years now. So eventually I'll get it straight, folks. Welcome to the Professional Sports Show. I'm your host, Mac. Keith Angle, TGI Sports host, college expert, great at all sports. Sonia Pearson, Our Lady in Sports, does a great job over there on the Roku channel and on YouTube. Jay Martin, the J Train, who's my partner in crime on Saturdays and sometimes on NFL Download. I got Bo Crouch, true professional, one of the best we got on the network, who does a lot of shows for us and probably more coming up this new year. And we got a new guy on here. I don't know if we'll scare him away after today or not, but we're going to call him Tip. He's our morning show guy at 10 a.m. Does a great job for us over there. And I Tip all week on his network, on his show, has been saying we're going to interview him. Now, I don't know where he got that idea, but we will, since he's a Dallas Cowboy fan, we will interview him a little bit, right, Bo? I mean, we'll talk to him a little bit about the Cowboys, that's for sure, right? So anyway, guys, how y'all doing today? How's everybody doing out there?
Excellent, thank you. That's all we got time for. We'll see you guys later.
Good, I'm glad to hear everybody. All right. We'll see you, Keith. So anyway, folks, let's start off. Of course, we got the college. We got the college playoffs coming up. We got one team, my team. I love the Fighting Irish Notre Dame since I was a kid, since back in the days of Joe Theismann. I mean, I've been following forever. A team that hasn't won the big one in years, playing against a team that hasn't won a big game against their rivals in years also. So I'm going to start off with you, Keith, since you're the college expert. What are your thoughts on this first game with Notre Dame coming up against Penn State? Who do you got? I know you're a little biased because of something that you've done outside the realms of podcasting. But how do you see this game unfolding?
Well, what I have outside ties into the whole thing. I like Notre Dame before the season started, and I have a future wager on Notre Dame to win that will cash a rather large check, and we'll be happy to do that. These two teams, again, two coaches that have shook a label a little bit here to get to the semifinals, and I think the guy who loses probably will still have a little bit of a monkey on his back. You know, I have no loss necessarily for James Franklin, and he has yet to beat a team in the top 5, and now he gets another shot. And I think this is two evenly matched teams. I think it'll be very close, and I think Notre Dame will win. I think they, again, I kind of got off the Marcus Freeman bandwagon a little bit after backing him a lot his first 3 years with a lot of criticism. But they finally figured out, after losing to Northern Illinois, how to use Riley Leonard correctly. And they were not using him correctly up until then, and they went on a great run. I know the schedule wasn't the best, but they just, again, they were routing people and playing great offense and playing great defense and great special teams, which matters as well. So I like Notre Dame, even without the bias of the future bet. I like Notre Dame to win this game. Close fought battle.
Sonia, all right, Sonia. I mean, Penn State's got a good defense. They always have a great history with linebackers, tight ends, stuff like that. Defense. I interviewed one of the ex defensive coaches, Sean Spencer, who was a defensive line coach for Penn State and went to coach for the Giants. Notre Dame has an opportunistic defense. Penn State can bully you around. And right now, Love, the main running back for Notre Dame, Love, is hurt. What do you think about the game?
I mean, first of all, good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year to everyone I haven't seen. So good to see you all tonight. Thanks for having me here, Mac, again. Penn State and Notre Dame have not been to the national championship in a very long time. In fact, I think it's like 30 years or something like that, a very long time. I personally didn't even remember them going into the championship, but here they are. They definitely can move a step closer this week, you know, after meeting up with the Orange Bowl we got going here. And I mean, it's a 7-seeder versus a 6-seeder. So when you look at, you know, positions like that, you expect it to be a close game because of the seeding that they have coming in here. I'm going to be honest. I'm actually surprised to see Notre Dame here. Even though they were 13-1 and you know, Penn State was 13-2, I honestly am still surprised that Georgia went down. Like, I just honestly am. I'm just being really transparent here because we're just so used to having certain teams in the playoffs every single year that we just kind of get used to it. It's kind of like, no offense, Keith, during the Patriots dynasty, or as they say on Game of Thrones, dynasty. They just were there like all the time, and you expected them to be there. Kind of like modern day Kansas City Chiefs. You just expect them to be super competitive and, if not the champions of it all, but a close runner up. But I will say that Penn State is coming off a 31-14 victory over Boise State, and I definitely didn't expect to see Boise State there. So Penn State would be the better one. How awesome is it, though, that Penn State's football team also is following up? If I'm remembering correctly, Penn State was also the basketball champions last year with the whole NCAA matchup. I think it was the ladies Penn State or something like that. But super excited for them. But I think that Penn State, you know, may get it all in the end. This is going to be their third national championship and their first since 1986. And so Notre Dame is actually, you know, looking for their 12th national title. And this is going to be their first since 1988. So those two teams were both in the same position around the same time, close to 30 years ago. So this is going to be an ultra competitive game. Just look for a good football game. It's going to be 7:30 on what's that? Tomorrow night, Thursday night. That's tomorrow night. So just get ready for ultra competitive football. I've got Penn State pulling out the win on this one, though.
All right, that's because Notre Dame beat Georgia. I understand. James, you know the
I'm not biased.
the former coach of Notre Dame, You know I hate him. I call him head coach Redface, who decided to leave Notre Dame just as they were going to the playoffs, if I remember correctly. Went to LSU and he brought LSU to, I don't know, a bowl game, I think. So anyway, what are your thoughts? I mean, is Kelly the right coach for LSU? Is Kelly the right coach for LSU?
Yes, I think so. And I'm not just being biased because I'm a huge fan of LSU. Look, he's at least on the offensive side, he's shown some serious progression with. We've never really had quarterbacks there to be there. Now you got two. One was under Ogeron, but I mean a Heisman quarterback, but you got another one in Jaden Daniels. So offensively, and they made some outstanding moves in the transfer portal. So you're going to see a lot of high flying offenses. And the kid that's there now, I like Nussmeier. So I think he came back. They're going to be, when you saw Jaden Daniels, he was there for 1 year. He wasn't all that great his first year. He came back, did some studying, and then of course he became the Heisman Trophy winner. I think Nuss is going to be in that same running. And defensively, we got the Baker out of Missouri, and you're laughing at me, right? I think we're going to be in a run in the SEC this year. Alabama looking like they.
Nussmeier is terrible. I'm laughing at Nussmeier. Nussmeier is a terrible.
Oh my goodness! I know. Look,
he may be a good college quarterback. He ain't making throws. I do not.
No. I would think I think he's going to be successful on this level. On this level, I don't know what he's going to do in the pros, but I think they're providing more weapons around him, and so you're going to see a much better offense. And I think he'll be in the running for Heisman. I'm not saying he's going to get it, but I think. In regards to him, Brian Kelly, I think Brian Kelly is an excellent offensive mind. Defensively, they're building up as well. Again, I don't know. I mean, speaking on that game, I mean Notre Dame versus Penn State. I got Notre Dame winning that game too. Just to speak on that as well.
You think? Can I one thing real quick? Don't you think Brian Kelly misses Mike Denbrook? By the way, real quick. I think he misses the offensive coordinator, Denbrook, who was huge in the development of Jaden Daniels. I think Nussmeier and that whole offense missed Denbrook in LSU.
Yeah, absolutely.
Went back to Notre Dame, by the way. Sorry, Mac. Sorry.
So, Tip, that's all right. Tip, let's get to Texas. I'll save Texas and Ohio State for you and Bo. Texas, of course, you're out of El Paso. I'm not sure if you root for Texas, the Longhorns, or one of the Texas teams or not. But Ohio State looked awesome last game. They got the highest paid team, I think, on the field, like $20 million. They seem to got a lot of speed there. The rookie, the quarterback there looked pretty good. Texas did have, I don't know what happened to them lately. In the trenches, they would run the ball a lot. Their defensive line was good. Quinn Ewers, up and down kind of, right? I mean, he's great one game or great for a half, and then he throws interceptions. What are your thoughts on that game, Tip?
So I think the biggest issue that the University of Texas has, and thank you, I'm glad this gets to be my first show that I get to talk about how much I am not a UT fan. I am a Texas Tech fan, so suns up, guns up. That's the way that we do it down there, Wreck 'em Tech. But I am forced to have to watch a ton of University of Texas Longhorns football just because we're in Texas and everyone loves UT Austin, right? And I've noticed kind of the same thing that you noticed. I think everyone notices because Texas is given this spotlight being new to the SEC that Quinn Ewers is the most consistently inconsistent quarterback in college football, right? Like, and you talk about it. And this last game against Arizona State, I don't even think it was like a half. It seemed to be just like quarter by quarter. He was just a different guy each time. And Texas, if they can't run the ball, if they struggle to run the ball against Arizona State the way that they did, Ohio State's going to have their way with them. I said it on the show earlier on Monday. a better team than Arizona State, because I'm a firm believer that Arizona State didn't belong there. A better team than Arizona State is going to beat Texas. I get that we have to genuflect in the direction of the SEC because they have been kings for God knows how long. It's not that way anymore. It seems like the Big Ten, all the money that we've had now that's being poured in due to NIL to like Ohio State is changing the balance of things right now. We've got 2 Big Ten teams there, and one of them we didn't even expect to be there in Penn State, right? So now we're seeing a changing of the guard here, and I think Texas, maybe a couple of years ago, if they had gone to the SEC, I could have been like, you know what, Texas, they won the ACC schedule or the SEC schedule. They did all the stuff they had to do to convince me that they're going to be superior. Not so much this year. Looking at what Ohio State's doing, and it's going to get me berated by people here in Texas. Looking at what Ohio State's doing, I don't even think this game is going to be close. I think Ohio State, I know the spread is 5 points. I think Ohio State wins by at least maybe 10 or 14 points. Like, I feel like it's going to be a mollywhopping.
Huh, that's my word.
Wow.
Or what?
Well, she did put like a patent on it, so you don't have to pay. I don't know how much you got to pay her for using Wally-Whopping, whatever word you use there, but it's not much. Trust me, there.
I will gladly pay her whatever the amount is, because I was about to ask as soon as I said it, how old do you have to be to use the word mollywhopping? And I realized she's younger than I am, so now I feel better about myself.
Oh, you know what? He is
That's
my
not an old person's
favorite
word.
co-host. You have just become my favorite co-host. I'm probably not younger than you, but thank you so much for that.
That can't be an old
I guess
people's
that's
word,
why
though.
Matt got me covered up by this little scan bar up here, because I'm having to lean to the side to make sure I can be visible.
You're
Right.
not,
Put me over there,
very
Mac.
well.
It's fine.
oh, now you are. Yes, you are. Now you. I'll tell you. I mean, with all the profile pictures out there, I mean, they all know what you look like anyway. Son, you can tell.
Trying to make me be the headless horseman.
Bo, let me get your thoughts on this. On Ohio State and on Texas. A lot of people think Ohio State is. I guess the best way to put this is Ohio State is peaking at the right time. Like in all football, NFL, it's the team that's peaking, right? And the team that is kind of fading. I mean, it's that way in all sports, but especially in football. To me, Ohio State should win the whole thing. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if you gauge it over the last couple of games, sure. There's a funny thing in sports, though. Whenever you have a large emotional victory, there's usually a pretty significant letdown the following week. I guess we're covering everybody there. But
yeah, I said what the hell.
So I would actually look for Ohio State to not look as polished this coming week. And again, only because big emotional wins generally have a letdown the following week. And at the same time, to Tip's point, Ewers has been really inconsistent. This seems like a game where he dials it in. I think where he falls apart is if they do make it to the national championship game. But I like the Texans to upset here. Or I mean, the Longhorns.
He had to cough on that.
I
He didn't even believe it. He got strangled.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a shootout. Like, this is going to be a very close game.
A mess in the
Listen,
West.
I think both games are going to be pretty close, to be honest with you. Yes, I believe. I think this may be the best. I don't know about the national championship because I don't know how Penn State's going to fare against Ohio State or against Texas. I'm not sure. I mean, I want Notre Dame to play well. I hope Penn State, if they get there, plays really well. I'm just not sure because no matter what anybody says, if you look at the schools and the history, in the recent history, Notre Dame and Penn State might get blown out, and that's the only thing I'm worried about. So we'll see what
Your
happens.
national championship
You
is.
do have the NFL playoffs coming
No
up.
great team here, though.
Yeah, no, your national
Right.
championship is actually Ohio State Longhorns. That's your championship.
Maybe.
I agree, Keith. Though there's no like standout team. I agree with.
You might be right.
I tried to tell y'all why though, but I was shot down. Like I love
We'll see.
UGA, but I'm not a huge fan. I'm a fan because I live here, but I'm not biased about it at all. Like we're so used to seeing Alabama and Georgia, and I just think we just have not fixated our minds on anybody else. Like, you know, freaking Nipsey Lions, Knicks, whatever they call it, Nitwits, whatever they are. Nittany Lions. Like, what kind of name is that? What is that? Like, that's what I'm saying. We're not used to that.
And in regards to the SEC, if it
don't,
wasn't for Texas making the switch, there'd be no SEC team in the playoffs right now. So it's a weird spot.
Exactly. That's the other part. Like, had we not done all this, you know, finagling with moving people around,
It's the Nittany Lions. Any emails you want to send, it is prim and proper sports. That's where any of you Lion fans, if you want.
By the way, if it was a 14 playoff, Ohio State wouldn't be in it either.
That would be where you send it to. Good.
So there's no great team here. It's I think anybody can win. That's why it's Notre Dame's best chance since 1988 to win a national championship. They don't win now. They may not win for another 30 years.
Jeez. I don't even know if any of us, you know, we trying to be here another 50, but we might not even be here. Shoot,
I'll be here. I'll be here. You will.
I'm only gonna. Oh my God!
Yeah. 110. Me and Mac.
I'm just trying to make it to the end of the show.
It's so hard. It's so difficult.
Yeah, right. Exactly. NFL playoffs, guys. Let's move into the NFL. We got 2 games coming up here on Saturday. The Chargers at Houston, Pittsburgh at Baltimore. I'll start with you, Bo. Everybody's taking the Chargers, practically, except my co-host, who picked the other team to go to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, so he can't take the Chargers, I guess. But everybody's taking the Chargers against Houston, and everybody's, for the most part, taking Pittsburgh against Baltimore.
What? People are taking Pittsburgh against Baltimore?
Well, they're probably taking the spread.
Oh, okay.
I ain't even taking no spread.
The spread I get because it's like 10 points. I was like, what kind of weird voting platform are you on? Yeah, I mean, I like the Chargers here too. I mean, it's you're talking about a Texans team that has regressed a fair amount. You know, they're sort of backing into the playoffs, and something that the Chargers do well that doesn't get enough press is they have a top 2 defense. And that's going against a Stroud that's been struggling all year. And then you have Herbert with an offense that puts up almost 30 points a game. That's going to be tough for a struggling Texans team to overcome.
And they're doing that with Ladd McConkey and J.K. Dobbins.
Exactly.
Yeah, JK's back. Just kidding, Dobbins is back.
Well, you know, the Chargers were in the beginning of the year, especially in the beginning of the year, they were pounding you. They're going to beat you up. They're going to bully you up. Now they're starting to let Herbert throw the ball again, and Herbert's coming out and he's throwing the ball really well. I like the Chargers. I don't know. Does anybody on the panel like Houston to win this game?
No,
I didn't think so.
Well, no,
I didn't think so. You do.
I do, but it's only because I believe in curses, right? Like, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, I believe that Jerry Jones has cursed anyone that's been a Dallas Cowboys player. And hearing the news that the Chargers have signed Zeke Elliott to their practice squad is going to bring that bad juju over to the Chargers, and they are going to find some way. And I agree, like their defense this year has been amazing, right? Turning Justin Herbert into like a game manager type quarterback has been like chef's kiss to Jim Harbaugh over there. But signing Zeke Elliott is going to bring all the bad stuff there to where the Houston Texans, which I don't like, by the way. You can see the Cowboys stuff back here. Not a big Texans fan. They're going to find a way to win this game just out of spite to me. Like, I feel like that's going to happen to me. So I have to choose them to just put some bad juju on them as well.
I'm not comfortable choosing that game.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable choosing that game at all because I just feel like both of those teams literally fell into the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if game just ended in a tie and they just both eliminate each other. Like I mean, I kind of agree with Tip. I forgot they got. Yes, Matt.
Sonia, what I was going to say to you, Houston won the division. What do you mean they backed into it? The Chargers are like 11-6. What do you mean they backed into it?
Winning the AFC South is
the AFC South is a diarrhea fest. Somebody has to win it just because they're in there. It's a mirror of the NFC South. Like somebody has to be put in that position. No one's taking them seriously. They may come out of nowhere and do like what Tampa did last year and eliminate Philadelphia the first win, but that's all it is. It's not a win W-I-N, it's a W-I-N-D. Because as long as the win is in them, they're there, and once it's out of them, they're out of they're just there to take care of the low hanging fruit. That's it.
Yeah, that conference doesn't even get a real ring. It's just melted down pop cans.
Exactly. And CJ Stroud has had a sophomore slump all season. And I mean, everybody was hyped up about Jim Harbaugh coming back to the NFL. And kudos to him for going to the playoffs his first season back. This is kind of what we expected anyway, because it's Jim Harbaugh. I mean, he's a Harbaugh. Let's go, him and his brother. But I mean, and Ezekiel to the practice squad, what an insult. What a fall from grace. I mean, he went to the Patriots and just got deballed. And now he came back to the Cowboys, and they had him over there with some pom-poms and everything. And now he's on somebody's practice squad. Next, he'll be passing out colored Gatorade. I mean, come on, bro.
Well, they're obligated to sign him to the practice squad when you bring a player over. So you can't immediately put him on the active roster. They have to hit your practice squad first.
Oh, is that with all teams?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually an NFL process.
Y'all told me tonight, because I'm telling you, all I ever see is, they sign this person and they conveniently leave out the word practice squad. So thanks, guys, because I see all the smug looks like, yeah, this is why she's a chick and we are guys, because we finally told her. So thanks, Bo. You could have put that in the chat.
I figured maybe you didn't know.
You could have put it in the private chat.
Well, I'm thinking maybe viewers didn't know too.
Well, you could have put it in the private chat and then let me just correct myself and say, oh, by the way, though, guys.
I think that Zeke Elliott will have zero impact in this game, by the way. Amazing we talked so much about him.
Vote for the Steelers.
You are 100% right, Keith. Who cares about Zeke Elliott? We're talking nonsense. We are talking nonsense. Let me tell you something. I think the Chargers have a really good shot at not only beating Houston, but beating whoever they're playing next. I think it's a very solid team. How's that? I think they got a good defense, a good running game, and a very good quarterback. And I'm going to tell you, I think if they go up against the Ravens or the Bills or whoever they're going next, they got a shot, Keith. They got a shot.
What did you have?
They win the wild card, but I think limitations with the talent that's there, it stops at the divisional round. It stops there. There's some limited. Now they have a great defense. I agree with you with there, but offensively, and look, Herbert, he's protecting the ball. He throws 23 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, I think, something like that. He's doing well, man. But I mean, again, he's not throwing to too many people as well. I mean, Quentin Johnston is, I think he's questionable to play. Ladd McConkey is really the only threat, to throw the ball to, and running out of the backfield is J.K. Dobbins. So again, he gets hurt, so I can see why they added Ezekiel Elliott, just as a band-aid if necessary. But they're not going to match up. If they win, well, they're not going to match up against the Chiefs, man. It's over.
It's funny because it's not like it's not like Stroud having a sophomore slump wasn't easy to predict when the entire offseason he's going on a podcast tour talking down to every defense that he ever played. Everybody's circling that date. They're like, oh, okay, cool. I'll get the 15-yarder. Don't even care.
Leave Brother Stroud alone. He's always thanking the Lord for his talents. Don't tell me he got on there and was smug on a podcast tour.
A few of them, yeah.
He's like Amon-Ra St. Brown. You know, Amon-Ra St. Brown's been doing that.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to get some late hits.
Pittsburgh plus 10 at Baltimore. It's a division rivalry. Baltimore's like 3-9 against Pittsburgh. These are all the stats I'm giving you, and it is a division rivalry game. But those last 6 games or 9 games, there was no, King Henry. There was no, Flowers. I mean, you're going way back to Ben Roethlisberger, for God's sakes. I think Baltimore wins this pretty easily, guys. Anybody have anything different?
They just beat them 34-17 three weeks ago.
Exactly.
I think so.
Baltimore is a far much better team. Lamar Jackson hasn't had a lot of success in the playoffs, but this Steeler team is reeling. I don't know. They lost their last 4 or 5 games, correct? I mean,
Russell Wilson is looking like the Denver Russ.
Russell Wilson's looking exactly like I thought Russell Wilson would look this year.
Dangerous. He's
You can't blame Russ for everything, man. George Pickens is really what's going on with this guy?
And they're not on the same page, and that can't happen. This team's in disarray, and they're not going to be even in this game. Lay the 9.5 because they're going to get blown out.
He's going to stroke out if his eyes pop out any bigger. He is just beside himself. He is like, surprise permanent face.
Pittsburgh is the worst team in the playoffs right now in my mind.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, it's the fact that they went from dominating the turnover battle to being behind the 8 ball on that the last 5 weeks. It doesn't help that Russ has been out there cooking, Pop-Tarts and hot dog water, but it's been a rough go for the Steelers.
I mean, well, why not give Justin Fields another go at it? Y'all don't think so? He was only 4-2.
No,
not this job.
I mean, at least a couple of snaps.
I would have done it a couple weeks ago. You can't do it now.
If he played,
3 of those 4 wins were because of the defense. They were scooping scores by TJ and stuff. So I mean,
if he played defense,
really give him those
that makes sense.
I mean, the biggest disappointment has to be the defense in the last few weeks, right? That's what's been the disappointment. I mean, Russell Wilson, and I mean, we all know what Russell Wilson is not a great quarterback anymore. We know Justin Fields first quarterback. My problem has been with the defense. The defense has really played poorly the last few weeks, and that's not Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
I think part of that is on the offense too, because the defense is out there for so much time during the game.
The Bengals.
They wear down.
That's true. Cincinnati Bengals head coach Darren Simmons accuses Kansas City of tanking on purpose. And I talked to Jack about this, my partner in crime, during the day, and I said there is no way in hell as a head coach would I stand on the sidelines and let the Denver Broncos beat the hell out of me and not do nothing about it. That was ridiculous. 38-0. They kept pouring it on. I don't care what I had to do. I mean, at the second half, I would come. We forfeit. If I'm not playing, don't even get on the field. Just forfeit. Don't even go out there because that was ridiculous. You go out there to play the football game, and if you're not going to play a football game, go the hell home.
You know what? The Cincinnati Bengals all should shut up. They could have taken care of business all year long and not had to count on somebody else whose job is to take care of their own team and get ready for the playoffs and not worry about other teams. I don't have any problem with what Andy Reid did or didn't do in that game. I don't care if they get beat by 100. Cincinnati.
I wish it was 100. I wish it was.
Quit crying. You won 9 games.
Right.
1 game over 500. You're going home where you ought to be.
I knew you were going to say that.
Thank you.
I knew you were going to say that. That still doesn't excuse the Kansas City Chiefs, for sitting back on the sidelines and doing absolutely nothing. Don't play the game. Don't play, because you did a disservice to every fan that was at the game. You did a disservice to everybody that watched that game. That's ridiculous.
I
I think the fans would be happy knowing that your team is going to win.
Played football.
Yeah, I think the fans won't care about losing that game even a little bit.
Was Taylor there? Was Taylor there?
I mean, is it
Did
maybe
Taylor pass up her jet and come there? Did she even waste her time?
I wouldn't think she was there. Why would she waste her time going there?
I don't watch the chefs, honey. They cheat. It's the chefs and the refs. I don't even watch them. They're disgusting. I hope they go down.
Matt?
We all hate winners. I'm a Patriot fan. You understand? We hate the Chiefs for one reason. Won 2 Super Bowls in a row, 3 of the last 4.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. What team has actually knocked KC out of the playoffs? The Bengals. So if you have a way that you can sandbag and keep them out, they're going to do it because they've beat everyone else they're going to see in the playoffs previously. Who consistently beats them in the playoffs is Joe Burrow and the Bengals. So what are they not going to allow happen? Joe Burrow and the Bengals to get in. And they have the opportunity to make it so they couldn't. It's good strategy, and you know that their entire fan base is not mad at it.
That's like saying, though, that they have, like, you knew that they were going to go into Buffalo and beat the Bills and then play against the Kansas City Chiefs. So you weren't even worried about this week game or the bye week that you get. You're worried about 3 weeks down the road, and that's just not the case.
They don't care whether Cincinnati got in or not. They don't care.
Or Kansas City's going to do what Kansas City wants to do. The fan base doesn't care because your team is 15-2. You're more than likely going to win the Super Bowl because you're the Kansas City Chiefs, and you got the second coming of Tom Brady.
More tip.
First of all, there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee the Kansas City Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl. That's not guaranteed.
They better not.
You've got a few teams right now that could.
Who said there's a guarantee?
I'm just letting you know that. And for me, Keith, you always talk about the integrity of the game, right? What happens if they're throwing a game because somebody's betting? But yet this is okay. This is okay though. It's okay to sit back. It's okay to sit back. What were the Chiefs' favorite? The favorite by was underdogs by 10. We're underdogs by 10, right? So I mean, all the bettors got it right. So what happened to your integrity of the game?
Why would anybody bet it the other way? So what's the difference? That's not. First of all, that's not what we should be worried about. Who cares about that? That should. Well, I'm sorry. The NFL's in bed with gamblers. I forgot. It matters now.
Yeah, it does.
Because the NFL's in bed with gamblers. No, again, you take care of your own business. Cincinnati won 9 games. I'm not getting, and I don't think, and as Tip said, I want more Tip, by the way. Well, mute all of us. Let Tip talk because he's got a great voice and he makes great sense. So far.
I mean, well, let me say something. If they are guilty, if they're guilty of sandbagging, then that's a shame. Shame on Kansas City if that's the case. Because I mean, the integrity of the game should be held intact. I disagree with the winning game. Yeah, I agree.
I'm not saying you try to lose.
So I wasn't saying they were legitimately sandbagging.
Yeah, I'm not saying that either.
What they did was they sat all their starters.
Yeah.
So you're sandbagging that game. You're not going to
every starter, right? Starters that don't even matter. They start.
Well, it's fair to
they did.
The starters. If you know you got the number one locked up, rest your players. At the end of the season, everybody's hurt. So you want to at least try to recover a little bit. So I agree with that.
Yeah, well, and I wasn't saying that was wrong because teams do it every single year. So I'm just saying they sandbagged in a way that helped them
guys. I'll let Tip talk, but to me that's not football. I'm sorry, guys. It's just not football.
Yeah, I mean it happens every year.
I was about to say it's a normal thing that we've come accustomed to. If you've locked up the number 1 seed, why risk having your main players get an injury? Anything that can possibly happen, like look at the game with Green Bay, right? They didn't that game meant nothing really in the grand scheme of things. You're either the 7th seed or you're the 6th
seed, right?
Now you have Christian Watkins out for the remainder of the season. Jordan Love leaves that game because of something he did with his elbow, and now he's feeling numbness in his hand. You might have just ruined your chance at doing anything now because those are major parts of what your team needs. I wouldn't have played that game if I'm Green Bay because 7 or 6, it doesn't matter. And if I'm Green Bay, I want Philadelphia anyway, right? I'm a weird Philadelphia hater. I also see a lot of flaws in that team. It might have something to do with the Dallas Cowboys thing, but we can't sit here and get upset at a team that sits at starters because they have nothing to play for.
Half the league did.
The only thing I have to counter that argument is that same elbow injury could have happened in the wild card game. I mean, it could actually happen in any game. So, I mean,
yeah, any injury can happen in any game, but why have the risk of playing it if you don't need to play it?
Exactly.
I mean, but maybe sitting your quarterback is one thing as opposed to sitting your entire starter roster. Like, I could understand the Chiefs sitting Mahomes and Kelsey, but they sat Pacheco and they sat the little wolf that runs around as the mascot, and they sat the water boy, and they sat a couple of honorary fans.
If that water boy was putting in some work, he deserves his rest.
You know what? When you're 15-1 and you're that good, you get to do what you want to do in that last game. That's how it comes down to.
No. I disagree with that.
They tank the game.
You have the right to do what you want to do with your team.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. The integrity of the game means something. It means something. And Danny, my Giants didn't sit. The Giants didn't sit. They played all their starters and still lost to the Eagles. So don't give me no credit. Right?
No.
Speaking of, Mac, I hope you just let me interject here, especially because we have Tip on our show. Tip, welcome. We're so glad to have you. I just want to ask you this magic question about your Cowboys.
Watch out.
Freaking Jerry Jones benches Cooper Rush with 52.5% of his snaps. He needed 55% to be able to get this, I think it's $500,000 bonus or whatever. You put stank ass Trey Lance in there, who has not been in there. They don't have no reason. I'm sorry, guys. You know, for me to use the ASS word, it's in the Old Testament if any church people are watching. For them to put him in there, and Dallas is going absolutely nowhere anyway. Like, Jerry, come on. I think you just upped your epitaph a couple of years for that. You might have been going to be leaving up out of here at 100. I think the Lord moved you up to 98 just for being so cold and mean. Now, that was low down.
So I know what I'm about to say is not going to be a popular thing, but I think with the Dallas Cowboys, you kind of had to. Cooper Rush he's going to be a free agent, right? Trey Lance is also going to be a free agent. You're not going to be able to afford both Dak Prescott and whatever Cooper Rush is going to try to get. So you have to sit back and say, what does Trey Lance bring to us? You see him basically shot put a ball towards Rico Dowdle in the red zone that landed 15 yards short. You got to realize, okay, now we move on. So I think what it is Dallas is going to say, we're moving on from both quarterbacks because we're not going to pay Cooper Rush what he needs or what he's going to command, because a solid backup quarterback like that is going to get some money. Like, someone out there is going to put some money on him. So Dallas can't afford that because you just paid Dak Prescott $60 million. So now are we going to keep Trey Lance? Well, he can't complete a 4-yard pass, so clearly we're not going to keep this guy. Let's go find someone else in, the draft in like the 7th round, someone in free agency, something of that nature. But I think they just had to see how he would be in game time because he's been there for 2 years and hasn't had any real action.
He looked good in uniform.
I understand. Yeah, I understand all of that. And they should have let Trey Lance come in and do a couple of snaps and see what that looks like and then sit him back down. To me, this at the end of the day is Jerry protecting his billion-dollar enterprise so that when he rolls up out of here, still ringless, he can get that pearl and chrome colored casket that he's trying to get.
He's got the
no, I'm talking about, I'm sorry, let me be clear. Newer rings, like a ring within the last 30 years. Like, they have their last Super Bowl is on VHS, and most of our audience probably doesn't even know what VHS is. You can't even play the Super Bowl because it's on VHS.
The biggest problem I got with what Jerry Jones did is I saw, 3 or 4 coaches put players in to get their bonuses. I mean, James Cook went in. They threw the ball to Evans at the end of the game to make sure he got his bonus. They got a punter a bonus on Buffalo. Here's Jerry Jones saying, "Well, guess what? You got to be able to afford $250,000. Come on,
$500,000.
It made no sense. And I don't
And
know
he
about
said
their
he didn't
contract.
know. He said he didn't know, which he's lying.
Okay, well, what is he,
What's that?
Biden now? How does he not know? What is going on?
I mean, he's 175 years old. You got to give him the benefit of the
This is why the reins need to go to someone else. He does not need to be controlling the dynasty anymore.
He was
I'll be the only guy who says I don't think Jerry Jones gives two craps whether he got his bonus or didn't get his bonus. It's $500,000. The guy's
Yeah,
worth
half a
$16
mil.
billion. He doesn't care. He didn't get it. Didn't get it. Maybe they'll give it to him later on. Who knows? That's happened before too.
Well, and then I'm gonna piggyback on what Mac just said right now. Like if we're gonna say coaches put players in, then we need to get mad at Mike McCarthy for not putting him in that game.
There you go.
Give him a little bit of love. We could have said, Trey Lance, you did okay. Let's pretend you hurt your arm on that short arm throw that you can't make to Rico Dowdle wide open. Let's pretend you hurt yourself, and now let's get Cooper Rush back in there. The coaches could have done it. They just didn't. And that's also because Mike McCarthy's trying to stay with the Dallas Cowboys because that's a match made in hell, and that is going to be my purgatory for the remainder of my life.
Yeah, he's on thin ice anyway. McCarthy can't even talk to the Bears right now.
You can talk to him in another 6 days.
Let's pick on the Patriots for a minute.
Why?
Jared
let's pick on the
Mayo.
Patriots for a minute. Jared Mayo.
Well, we can talk about the Cowboys for this long.
1
We
year.
can at least get a
He
minute
did
in
1
it.
year with no talent, with no roster, not a receiver. Your defense is men's and men's. Your offensive line stinks. So Jared Mayo, you went four and something, right? I think you won 4 games.
4 and
This is what
13,
we
yeah.
thought you would win, and
4
we're going to
games.
fire you anyway. Yeah. So
There's
and the thing that ticks me off, not
words.
that ticks.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, finish up.
The thing that makes me upset is New England's like a family, right? We invite everybody over to our weddings. We have Drew Bledsoe come over. We have all these people coming over to our get-togethers. Jared Mayo is a former player, a former coach. You give him 1 year and you beat the Buffalo Bills and you say, hey, guess what? Get the hell out of here.
I don't totally disagree, but there's one reason that this happened the way it happened, and it's Mike Vrabel. They're going to get one shot at Mike Vrabel, and anybody who doesn't think Mike Vrabel is going to be the coach there very shortly isn't paying attention. That's why he got fired so close after the game. That's why they've already brought in their 2 Rooney, the real ridiculous rule the NFL's put in. They've already got their 2 Rooney rule guys they would never in a million years hire. They've already interviewed. Mike Vrabel's going to be the coach here. He loves Mike Vrabel. He wanted Mike Vrabel to have this job. He admitted he made a mistake. The plan all along was that Mayo was going to learn for another year under Belichick, and that came to a head and couldn't happen. And he got put into a position he wasn't ready for. And Robert Kraft, to his credit, took the blame for what happened to Gerard Mayo, but he did fire him, and it doesn't show a lot of class. I agree, but I want to win football games. I was all for Gerard Mayo until I watched what happened on the field this year, and it wasn't going to get better with this leadership, unfortunately, because the coaching wasn't there. He maybe he'd grow into this job, but Robert Kraft's 83 years old. He doesn't have time for a guy to grow into the job.
See, that's not just the coaching; the talent's not there. I mean,
No, yeah, but again, it's not the talent. Yes, but when you're talking about the penalties and some of the, if you watched every play of every game like I did, you'd know that there's a problem with this coaching staff. Bad decision making. Talent's one thing, right? And they played hard. They didn't give up on their coach. They won the last game for their coach against a team with playing their third stringers, of course. But again, it may not be a great look. If Mike Vrabel wasn't available, Gerard Mayo will still be the coach.
A lot of coaches.
That's it.
There were a lot of coaches that have a bad first year. A lot of coaches. Pete Carroll had a bad first year. There's a lot of coaches that had a bad first year that ended up turning things around. Listen.
Well, eventually.
I know, but he came back and he wasn't as bad as we thought, was he?
But Pete Carroll got fired after that season. You can't just
point I'm
ignore
trying
it.
to make here, Keith. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying he didn't. There's
Right.
coaches that got fired that had good years too, Keith. I'm not saying that.
A lot of guys,
All I'm saying is I think it was done totally wrong. You give the guy another year. I don't care about Vrabel. I mean, look, you also got Flores, who's available too. Why not hire Flores? He was part of the
They're not
Patriots
gonna
coaching staff too. Great coach, right? Very good coach. Why not?
They love Mike Vrabel. They love Mike Vrabel. That's why he got fired for one reason. That's it. Mike Vrabel. If Mike Vrabel was not in the coaching carousel this year, Mayo would still be the coach, guaranteed.
I feel like the main takeaway today is Mac is just mad at football.
He is very mad.
I don't know what he had for dinner, but
We know he's lost his mind.
giving frustration.
He showed me his hair earlier, and it showed. Now that's why he thinks Joe Milton is going to be the next great thing.
Oh
for the
yeah, he's hot shit right now. He showed that hairline. That was it.
Steve, what's going to happen if Mike Vrabel gets hired by the Raiders? Because he's aren't they after him too?
Well, everybody's after him. He's interviewed with the Jets already. And again, that's why this happened so fast. Again, it's all about Vrabel. If it wasn't about Vrabel, this would not have happened an hour after the game. And they wouldn't have brought in the two Rooney rule guys Monday and Tuesday and got that out of the way. I mean, it's so freaking obvious what they're doing.
They're only going
We're never going to hire the two guys I interviewed.
Yeah,
They're
they're only
talking to Belichick, trying to bring Belichick back to the league. Now
Well,
they
that's
want to talk to him.
That's not going to happen. Not this year, anyway.
The Raiders are trying, but no, I mean, the Patriots are only talking to 4 people. So it lets you know that Vrabel's their guy. They have the two Rooney rule, Vrabel, and everyone's taking a flyer on Ben Johnson.
Yeah. And they're going to wait. I don't think they'll wait around for Ben Johnson because Vrabel could get hired in the meantime. I think Vrabel's going to be the coach in a week, less than a week.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Maybe by the weekend.
I want the Patriots to talk to Mike McCarthy.
No, I don't want Mike McCarthy. Let him go to the Bears.
You realize they let McCarthy go, and
Tyreek Hill
messed
pulls
it up and
himself
ended up with Zimmer.
Yes, and he'll probably and guess what? He goes to the Bears, and the Bears win the division. Tyreek Hill pulls himself out of the game, the last game. Another diva wide receiver. Diggs, Tyreek Hill, they're all the same to me. Put a different name on the back, different number. I mean, who would want to pick up Tyreek Hill right now? Any coach with half a brain wouldn't want to do that.
Maybe a strong coach with a little. Yeah, I don't think Mike McDaniel's the kind of guy who can handle egos like that. He lets them run amok. That's the problem down there. He didn't run. He didn't do that in Kansas City when he played for Andy Reid. I mean, a game man coach.
Not at all.
What's that? No, that's true. That's a good point.
I mean, think of Antonio Brown. He didn't lose his mind until he got paid either.
I'm pretty sure his mind was gone then. He just didn't have money to.
Well, see, that's the thing, right?
There was rumors.
And now he's got no money again, by the way. Antonio Brown.
There's that saying of, money doesn't change you.
Yeah.
It just exaggerates who you are, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Keith, you want to
What's the
explain the
Rooney
Rooney rule to all things from a lady's perspective?
The Rooney rule was put in, I don't know, 2 decades ago, I guess, because minority candidates were not getting interviewed for head coaching jobs or general manager jobs. I think it applies to both. And you have to interview 2 minority candidates from outside of your organization. The Patriots were exempt last year. I don't know why they didn't do it last year. They hired Mayo without any interviews. But you have to interview 2 minority candidates before you can hire a head coach. And
what happened to that?
It's a farce because every team just goes through the motions. They already know who they want and don't want. Maybe it works out for some of the minority candidates because you get a chance to interview and maybe you get noticed, right? But most of it's just a sham. That's part of the Brian Flores.
That's who I was going to mention, Brian Flores. I was like, is that
That's part of the argument is that he was interviewed only as a token, and Belichick was in the middle of that too because he texted
the wrong person,
the wrong guy. Congratulations on getting the Giant job.
Belichick's staying some mess. That's why I'm like, when Mac asked you about integrity, I was just skeptical off the rip. I mean, they've had deflated balls, stolen championships.
Nobody else says any of that.
I'm surprised they didn't have OJ
with 5 minutes left in the show, really.
Not for you, Keith. I apologize. But I'm surprised that I'm surprised OJ's trophy OJ's Heisman wasn't in y'all's stash too. I'm just
All right, so
surprised.
If you wanted to know who they, if you wanted to know who they interviewed to really try
Byron Leftwich and who's the other guy? He lost his
Pep Hamilton.
Pep Hamilton, right? They weren't hiring either one of those guys.
No, exactly. They've been out of the league.
They couldn't get coordinator jobs this year.
Exactly.
They've been out of the league. That's definitely ruining rule.
They couldn't even get coordinator jobs this year. So come on. I get
Somebody
it.
said Kraft was having a massage during the hiring.
So I was going to go over. I was going to go over penalties and the targeting rule and all that good stuff tonight, but we definitely don't have enough time for that. We do have a women's professional baseball league coming in 2026. 6 whole teams in the Northeast. Honestly, my opinion is anyway. Hey, I'm happy for them, but if the WNBA can't take care of their own league without the NBA supporting it, how are these 6 teams in this league going to support itself? I don't know if MLB is going to get involved in it or not. I don't get it. So I mean, Sonia, would you watch a female? Would you buy a ticket to go watch a female professional baseball game?
I'm going to be honest with you, probably not. I mean, I only go to a couple of regular MLB games, and that's usually around the time of my dad's birthday in honor of him because he played in the league. Other than that, the games are extremely long. It's always super hot, and I find myself like it's a slow pace. It's a slow pace, so I'm going to let you know, even though it does have to start somewhere, and I'm proud of them, if the MLB does not put the proper backing behind them, we're going to see another situation like we did with the WNBA. And I'm all about, women getting on board and being equal. Let somebody just come for me after we're off the air because it always happens. Let me just let you guys know I'm very, transparent and basic. Like I'm neutral to the core. I do not see this. I see this as somebody just pouring their money into something short term. Hopefully I'm wrong, but it's very hard to propel such a sport. And then this generation is not into sports like we were. It's just everybody's into games and stuff online. They're not into going in person and supporting stuff. So there you go.
They'll have a beer garden, right? Some people will go.
I don't believe that has anything to do with this league, by the way, like the NBA does the WNBA. There's no ties to Major League Baseball here either. So,
I need to read up. I don't know. Maybe this is like a league of their own. I mean, I like that movie.
That's kind of what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that movie. I mean, they better go get Madonna or some of them that were in there.
I'll get in trouble. I always get in trouble when I talk about women's sports, but they'd be better off just playing the movie at the stadiums. They'd probably get more people in to watch.
Yeah.
Wow.
The softball.
Okay, Keith, I'm not offended.
It's an amazing way to wrap the show up.
We gonna get cut off the air. We gonna be trying to stream next week. You can't even get on StreamYard. Block.
The women's college softball is pretty popular. I mean, that's on a lot. There's not even women's professional softball that I see out there anymore, like there used to be way back when I was a kid. So, I mean, I don't understand. I don't get it. Maybe somebody needs to maybe they need to throw their money into something and hide it or whatever. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Carlos,
I mean, we are in wrestling. They have the gorgeous women of wrestling
all those years, Keith.
Carlos is in a league of his own himself. So
yes, they do.
Glow, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. We had professional wrestling.
Danny, I swore I wasn't going to say a word, Danny, and I couldn't help myself.
Yes, we do. So
just like to Rob immediately went to the lingerie league.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe their outfits.
Don't you like that? Didn't you like that? I mean, that's the football they do. Well, I'm not even going to get into the professional football. Folks, thanks for tuning in. This is one of my favorite shows. We just talk about sports, have a lot of fun.
Lose control.
Stay with us. Of course, is TGI Sports, Sonia Prim and Proper, James Martin. Again, he's on the Prim and Proper Network. He's also with me a lot. Tipton every morning, 10 p.m. Eastern, and of course, Bo on Coast to Coast, 12 p.m. And also, he has other shows going on. So I can't wait to see the new shows going on. Have a great one. Keith is on up after us. Have a great one, folks.
Good seeing you, Tip.